policy and programming. This one is the first webinar of a series of future upcoming online events that will be organized through the Child Protection Hub. We're very pleased and happy to have two experienced professionals from the region, from Bosnia and from Albania, who will today share their experiences in working with children and ensuring their rights to be consulted and participate in decisions that directly concern them. I would like to also inform you that any participant and anyone actually who is registered on the Child Protection Hub is invited to share ideas. You are welcome to suggest a topic for a webinar that you would be interested in. You're also welcome to suggest a speaker or to suggest a webinar that you would like to organize in your country, in your language, or in English. We are very keen to receive as many experiences and share as many knowledge as possible within the region. As you probably know as well, within the Child Protection Hub, you are also offered opportunities to share with others and discuss cases in an anonymized way. You can share information through the forums and suggest different types of ideas. So I will let the speakers start sharing their knowledge. I thank them very much for their contribution. We're very pleased to have them here today. And please do not hesitate to send us feedback at the end of the webinar on how it went, how useful it was, and what you would suggest to improve so that we can make this event better and more useful for all of you. Thank you very much, and I leave the floor to Evgenia.
Hello everybody, my name is Evgenia Generalova and I'm a Communications and Knowledge Manager for the Child Hub, and I'm going to facilitate this webinar for you. Let me start with a very quick overview of this platform, just in case for some of you it's the first experience with Adobe. So you can see that the biggest space on the left is the space for the slides, where our presenters are going to share their slides with you. On above, you can see a poll. Please feel free to answer. You just need to click the answer which suits you the best. And please keep an eye on this space because I'm going to change polls. We will have at least 4 during this session. Then on the right, you can see a Q&A section where you're very welcome to write your questions to the presenters and they will look through them and answer them. And below you can see a chat window. Okay, I can see someone is writing that I should speak louder. I'll try. So the chat window is exactly for these technical issues. You can use it just to say hi, to ask any technical question, to share a problem, whatever. Let's test it now, and if you could all please write something in the chat like yes, hello, whatever, so as we know that you can hear me well and that you are with us. Let's wait a minute. Okay, I can see people writing. It's very nice that you can hear me. Okay. And also on the top, next to the menu where you Can you hear me now? Okay, can you also write to me in the chat when you stopped hearing me? And I will start again. Did you hear about the guy with the raised hand? Okay, I can see people writing. Okay, so what I was saying, just hold on. What I was saying that on the top you can see a guy with a raised hand, and if you click on it, you can see a lot of options like agree, disagree, speak louder, laugher, applause. So you can use this menu to provide your feedback to the speakers, and the icon you choose will appear next to your name. So if you can try and select something now, so we can make sure it works. Okay, I can see. Great. Very good. Thank you very much. Okay, now when we are done with the technicalities, let me introduce the first speaker to you. It's going to be Berina Ceribašić. She's a sociologist and she's an executive director of the NGO Our Children in Bosnia and Herzegovina. And she's also coordinator of NGO network Stronger Voice for Children. She's a volunteer and also she's a mom since recently. And now Berina is going to present standards for meaningful participation. Please feel free to ask questions, to provide your feedback. It's very welcome. Okay, Berina, please, the floor is yours.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Evgenia. Good morning to everybody. I'm very happy that we gain so much interest in this topic, and I'm flattered that I can share our experience and exchange thoughts with all of you on this topic. I want to thank all of the Child Hub initiators of the website and administrators for launching such a great platform. The idea is great, and I hope that we will use this platform as much as possible. Just a quick introduction. I am an NGO worker coming from organization with a lot of experience in organizing and supporting children participation. When speaking for myself, I like to see myself as a friend of children and their supporter. It was not my plan to do so. I had other interests, but over the time, children show me how brilliant they can be and how much good work they can do in much enthusiastic and funnier way than adults. So when I said that we have a lot of experience, I didn't mean only good one, great moves or actions. We faced a lot of difficulties. We made mistakes and made bad compromises, and we are still learning. We work during the years with children in schools, also in local community with children from all schools in one municipality, and with network of children groups from all over the country. In this process, we cooperated with teachers, with school management, with police, with centers for social work, institutions of ombudsman for human and children rights, governmental officials from local to national level, mayors and ministries, and partner NGOs. I come from the country, and I'm sure that it's similar in the region, where children are not taken seriously by adults. Very often, they are underestimated in their capabilities. To think about the policies is not a job for children. Children should play, they should go to school and listen to adults and take what they are offered. That doesn't mean that adults are bad, they are just sometimes overprotective toward children. To find a fine line between overburdening and the overprotective approach in our work with children is our mission. So maybe now it's a good moment to see the results of the poll. I think the majority answered. I see that we have also some experts with us, and I hope that they could join us later on in discussion and maybe show some tips that me and Valbona missed to say. Also glad to see there are people with relevant experience in different activity and in advocacy, which is also great. And I hope that people with no experience, little experience or some, will gain some knowledge after our presentations. So, Save the Children supported our steps in promoting children participation for over 10 years now. They did it all over the world, and from different experiences and contexts, they developed very useful guidelines. It's called the Practice Standards in Children Participation, which I will briefly present to you. Those standards represent minimum expectations of the ways in which staff working with and for children should behave and operate. Each standard is accompanied by a set of criteria that can be used as indicators to see whether or not some standard is being met. Of course, standards should be adopted to fit local conditions, to social, economic, cultural, and other practices, as well as age and maturity of children. As we don't have time to go through all of the indicators, a link for the whole document will appear later in this presentation. Now I will just try to underline some of the standards and indicators which showed important during our work. Just a second. Okay, so first standard is an ethical approach, transparency, honesty, and accountability. This means that adults should always think of children, best interests in any stage of work and avoid any negative impact from their participation. Children should be listened, treated with respect, and involved from earlier possible stage so they can influence the design and content of that process. This is also contributing to a sense of ownership among children. When starting activities with children, purpose should be clearly explained to children, as well as how much impact they can expect from their participation. Same applies to the roles and responsibilities of both involved adults and children. Adults are accountable to children for the commitments they make. Several years ago, I made a mistake. I was so excited when we got information that Mayor will meet children, so I said it right away to them. Children were very happy about it, and they split tasks and prepared questions and their suggestions. At the end, Mayor didn't meet with children. He appointed his deputy. Children presented what they prepared to him, but still they were a bit disappointed. So was I. And the last very important point is that staff and adults should never steer or manipulate children to achieve the results that they as adults want or expect. Highly put goals can sometimes put this standard in jeopardy. So, just a second. So, standard 2 is children participation have to be relevant and voluntary. Children should have time to consider their involvement and they can withdraw at any time they wish. Whatever the reason for withdrawal, facilitators should be supportive to child and respect their decisions. Subject of participation should be built on their personal knowledge and experience and the issues that affect them, appropriate to their capacities and interests of children. Ways of working and methods should take into consideration social, economic, cultural, and traditional practices of the area. Also, children other time commitments have to be respected and accommodated, such as their responsibility to family, to school, to sport and cultural activities. For example, we have our workshops with children on Saturdays, so children won't skip school. And when we have children meetings that last for several days, we are trying to do it during the school break. Support from key adults in children's lives also is very important. Standard 3 is ensuring a child-friendly and enabling environment where children feel safe, feel welcoming, relaxed, where they can encourage to where they are encouraged to participate and to be creative. The meeting place must be accessible to children with disabilities. Information shared should be child-friendly, and jargon and technical terms should be clearly explained to children. And sufficient time and resources should be made available for quality participation. Besides needed material for work, we always plan refreshment for children, and also funds for some fun activities are always welcomed, such as a joint visit to cinemas, field trip, and so on. Standard 4, it deals with equality of opportunity. Child participation does not reinforce the existing patterns of discrimination and exclusion, and it encourages participation of often excluded children, regardless of the child's age, race, color, sex, religion, political, or any other origin or status of the children. Also, practice should be flexible enough to respond to the needs, to abilities, to expectations and situation of different groups of children. In our network, we work with 3 groups of children with disabilities, of course with the adapted program, and we have very good results, especially because inner satisfaction of children, their confidence and their sense of belonging to joint cause. So, in the light of previous standard, no assumptions should be made about what different groups of children can or cannot do. And if there is a limit to how many children can participate in certain activities, children themselves select among their peers those who will represent them based on the principle of democracy and inclusion. Let's move to standard 5. Its staff are effective and confident. Adult workers can only encourage genuine children's participation effectively if they have the necessary understanding, but also the skills, if they are provided with appropriate training, with tools and other development opportunities. Facilitators working with children should be child-friendly. It is best when it's someone closer to their age, someone who's open and creative. And of course, support from organization or institution where facilitators come from is important, as well as time to evaluate work with children and always look for innovations. So, as I started to lose my English right now, maybe it's time to ask you some question and you can answer it in the chat. I'm interested if you participating in a life of your community outside your work, in a free time, and how. I'm just curious as we engage children during their free time. Anyone? For example, do you go to the public hearings in your municipality, or you go to clean the park, and you are doing some voluntary activities? No one? So no, and rarely. Okay, we have some more topic. Yeah, okay. So that's why I asked, because sometimes we have a lot of activities with children in their free time. So we should also look what we could do for that. Okay, let's move to the standard 6. It's not changing my presentation. Okay. So we have 2 more standards. So standard 6 is participation promotes the safety and protection of children. Child protection policies and procedures form an essential part of participatory work with children, from planning to evaluation. Children involved in participation work have to be aware of their rights to be safe from abuse and know where to go for help if needed. Skilled and knowledgeable staff should be delegated to address and coordinate child protection issues, and they made a careful assessment of risk associated with children participation. Bear also in mind that you always have to have consent from child or the legal guardians for child participation, for publishing the photographs of videos or other ways of children exposure. We have templates for consent. Hello. We have templates for consent which we give to children to show to their guardians and the beginning of the project. Guardians sign it for coming to activities of children and media appearances, and also publishing of their name or attitudes or photos in the materials. Also, we have different forms for travel of children. Okay, and then we have a last standard. Standard 7 is to ensure follow-up and evaluation. It is preferred that children participate in follow-up and evaluation processes and to suggest improvements. We should give rapid and clear feedback to children on the impact of their involvement, the outcomes of any decisions, and on our next steps if it's possible. Also, sustainability of support in the future should be discussed with children. Okay, these were just briefly explained standards, and we had to give you 3 learning points. So I prepared mine. My first learning point is ladder of participation. I'm sure that most of you are familiar with it. You can always have it close to you for time-to-time checkup on where you are in the process of participation, or you can make action plan to go one step at a time. Of course, keeping the first 3 steps. Our rise on these letters was over the years. It was slow but persistent. I will give you one example of our involvement of children in writing of child rights situation reports in Bosnia, for Bosnia and Herzegovina. Some 10 years ago, I think, when we did our first report, we as adults did analysis, and we talked about children. Later on, we conducted a big research all over the country with children, and after each paragraph in the report, we made little boxes where we showed what is the children's opinion on the subject. Our next step was children implementing research with children, and we made a separate chapter in our report. It was called the Attitudes of Children. And then finally, last year, children made their own children report from the beginning to the end. So children choose subjects that they will treat. They were involved in creation of methodology for the research. They implemented research with their peers. They also co-facilitated the analysis of the results of research. They drafted their children recommendations, and at the end, in January this year, they presented their report on the round table. We are planning to ensure funds so children can go to the session with the UN Committee for the Rights of a Child in Geneva and present their report, which is expected in 2017. I know from my colleagues in Serbia and Montenegro that they already had their children going to and presenting the children report to the committee. On the internet, you can find a variety of letters of participation and use one that you like. So my second learning point for you is the manual that Save the Children published and which I briefly presented. Here is the link. As I tried, you can click on it right away, I think. You can make, from these standards, you can make your own indicators and use it as a checklist. On the internet, you can also find standards made by other relevant organizations treating children, like UNICEF. And my last, but not the least, learning point for you is that there is no subject that concerns children on which they can't give their input. So I suggest that you consult and learn from children. And I have a few more slides. Here I put some photos. These photos are from my organization, Our Children, but also our network, Stronger Voice for Children. So here are the photos of children in the different parliaments, from level of municipality to the canton and to the state level. Here we have children speaking to public on the media, also holding presentations and in direct contact with the citizens. Here are the children in campaigns. We are every year doing the campaign for 20th of November, International Day of Children. And here are children meetings. In the past 4 or 5 years, I think, we had approximately 2 per year. And it is great because it's because of the borders in the post-war period that adults put between children. And here are some thoughts of children. I want to read it to you. You can see it and read. My absolutely best is that this one that we are young but very useful. Okay, I can see the question. Children that we are working with are from a variety of backgrounds. We have children from primary and secondary schools, which are how to say, we don't like to use it to use the word normal, but with some advantages. But we also have children that are disadvantaged socially. We work also with marginalized group, probably in the region also. We are working with Roma children. But these are not photos from, if it's what you asked me. These are the photos of the Child Hub. Okay. I'm sorry if I didn't see some chat while I was talking, but I will go back to it. Okay, thank you. Here is my email if you want to ask me a question or something. And here is also the link to our network. I promise it will be updated. Oh, and maybe just to see the results of the pool, what child participation means to you. So involving children in decision-making process has the most. What is the best for child well-being? Also what? Yeah, I agree. Okay, thank you very much. I hope it was not too long.
Thank you, Berina. That was wonderful. Thank you very much. Okay, you can still keep writing questions to Berina in the Q&A section or the chat if you wish to, and she will address them later. And now I would like to give the floor to Valbona Cerciani. Has an academic background as a psychologist, but she has worked for many years in the non-profit sector. With vulnerable and disadvantaged groups. Joined in Albania just in February, but she has been involved with the organization previously as the facilitator of the Children Consultation Group in the framework of Maria Project, Children on the Move. And Valbona will present the experience of forming consultation groups of children on the move, the practical side of working with children, and their experience of leading groups of children and getting them involved. Yeah, I'm giving the floor to Valbona, and I will put on her slides. Just give me a second, please. Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Thank you, Gina, for this introduction. Greetings to everybody. I have the pleasure to share with you the experience of facilitating the Children Consultation Board, which was in the framework of Mario Project. I hope to share some practical learning points, just as Evgenia said. And I'm also confident that you have a lot of experience in facilitating children's groups. And this space will help us all to exchange on that experience and knowledge. Mario Project was implemented by Tardes Albania in collaboration with BKTF, which is United for Childcare and Protection. This is a coalition of several organizations that work in the field of child rights protection. Okay, I will try to speak a little louder. So, a little bit of background on the project. Mario Project aimed at improving the protection of migrant children who are vulnerable to abuse and exploitation. Through the consultation board, it meant to empower children on the move to take advocating actions. The board gathered around 50 children who came from different organizations that are part of this big KTF coalition in Albania. The children's age ranged between 8 to 16 years old, and they had somehow experienced on-the-moon phenomenon, either themselves directly or have known others from their community. The board was gathered in 20 meetings, ranging from November 2013 until January 2015, so for about 1 year and a half. Our Children Consultation Board underwent several processes and activities that brought the group cohesiveness, understanding the concept of participation through practicing it, understanding about advocacy and involving them in advocacy events, and of course, meetings served also as a micro-context for learning social skills and getting entertained above all. Children love that. During the course of the project, there were 5 moments of organized consultations with children, where their input was very much important. At the situational analysis, this was a study undertaken at the beginning of the project, and it asked for children's participation during the data collection stage. At that stage, children perceived their role as journalists, and they felt very important. It was really fantastic. Another moment, when the board participated on a consultation session in the framework of the CRC 25th anniversary campaign. The children brainstormed and sent out messages to the government. Their input was gathered and sent in Geneva Committee, and it represents the views of children on the move. In total there were 15 boys and girls Anahi, but they were not all at the same time. Then, on the occasion of the International Children's Rights Day, 2 members of the Children Consultation Group had the opportunity to be represented at the Albanian Parliament in a hearing session. They were asked whether there will be a special focus with regard to the children on the move, and this question was addressed to the chair of the Parliament himself. Another moment was when children were involved in a plastic theater performance. They were part of the scenario writing and also the main characters of the theater. It was a 5-minute performance without speaking, but it represents the life of a migrant child who had to work in the streets of a faraway town to survive, and the way this child was treated by the society. The play can be found in YouTube with the name Mario Board Plastic Theater. If you cannot find it at the moment, you will do in a couple of days. I will share in the Child Hub the site where you can reach it. During the same day, the children were able to convey some very strong advocacy messages that they have been working and preparing themselves. And some of them were stop violence against children, I have the need to go to school, stop child labor, I want a better future, etc. So in the following, I will share with you some illustrations through photos to tell about this. So here is the picture. The picture was taken after the meeting that was dedicated to consultations for the CRC's 25th anniversary. At the end, they came out in a picture with Sabina. She was the facilitator of this group. Here is another picture. Children are discussing and choosing the representatives of the board who were to represent them in Parliament. It was not so easy, but at the end there were 2 coming out from the group and going to represent them in the Parliament. So this was the moment. So there is another picture. Children are discussing on the scenario of the plastic theater. They were a little bit harsh on some of the characters coming from the society, but we arranged everything in consultation with them. So here is the moment when they did the final rehearsal before the plastic theater performance. You can see the policeman. It was one of the characters. And he was one of the most discussed character, because the children would give him a role, a very harsh role, because this is how they associate the behavior of policemen toward the children on the streets in Albania. But we try to bring a more positive attitude of the police in that. This was the moment when they have finished the performance on the 1st of June last year, on the Children's Day. The pancarts hold the previously mentioned messages. So coming back to the challenges that are faced during the facilitation of this group. The age was very wide. It was ranging from 8 to 16 years old, making it often difficult to manage. Often also the number of the participants would go above 14, just as I mentioned previously, and that was challenging as well. The time where we choose to do the meetings was a little bit challenging also. The only possible appropriate time for them to come was after lunchtime, because this is when they finish school. Therefore, their level of energy would often drop down during the sessions. There were many children coming and going from migration, and they would miss several meetings to then return and understand that they have lost a lot of information. Of course, the personalities of children were diverse in the group, making it a bit difficult and challenging to adapt the guidelines, the methods and techniques, of course, to each one of them. Yes, the gender issues were a challenge as well. I will mention them later on. Talking about participation sometimes appears to be an abstract concept to the children, as in their community or in general in our society. Just as Berina mentioned previously, involving children in discussion and decision-making is not common. Here, especially between the vulnerable groups, children are considered unworthy to being heard or taken into consideration. Demotivation. Along the course of the consultations meetings, children would often say, "What's the need of talking and preparing messages? What's the point of performing theaters? The important people will not listen to us. The children will suffer the same and nothing will change," by lowering aside the level of the group members' motivation. That's right, Moshe. Every group has at least one challenging member, and of course, I know you share the same experience with me. There was one of the children who appeared to be very difficult in our group, difficult to manage, mostly interrupting the others, insulting some of them, creating conflicts, using humor to attract the others' attentions, etc. So I would like to look a little bit at the poll here on what have you found the most challenging, keeping them focused, dealing with challenging members, making them understand, learn complex concepts, etc. So I see that dealing with challenging members is one of the most challenging issues during the group facilitations. We can go back to that later on. So here again I would like to share some illustrations with you. This was the moment when children got together at one point to discuss and take a decision on the future involvement of this member I mentioned before, who continuously violated the pre-agreed rules of the group. So it was a very hard decision. They discussed about 20 minutes on that. And the result was that they gave another chance to their friends under the condition that no other rules to be violated by him. So he was put under a test period, let's say. So what would be some of the lessons learned during the consultations group? My advice would be, if you cannot keep it to the standards, then try to overcome the standards. Meaning that the optimal standards for having a very productive meeting under the framework of Mario Project Children Consultation Group was for children to be aged between 8 to 12 or 12 to 16. But as I told you, we had a combined group, like from 8 to 16 years old. For the group size to be no bigger than 12, but sometimes we had 14, 15 children in the group. To have the meetings in the late morning or in the afternoon, which would be the best time for them, but we could not have that as a standard, and to have a regular attendance from all of the children, but of course, in a practical day-to-day life, this is not always possible, as there are realistic obstacles. So you cannot say no to children who are willing to join their friends to come to the group, or it is out of your control, the children moving from one place to another, and their absence in the group is understandable. So therefore, the facilitator has to be flexible, try to adapt the session guide to the group size and the group age. Are you listening? Okay, because I don't see the chat. Okay, thank you. Therefore, as I said, the facilitator has to be flexible. For example, if planned to have a brainstorming session with about 7 to 8 children, while in fact there are 15 coming, you have to switch the method to forming small groups of children and do the brainstorming in the small groups. The same could be applied with the delivery of the age. So you distribute equally the youngest and the elders to form different groups. So you have in one group the elders and the youngest. So if you have or you see the energy level of children is very low and no one is focused, you use energizers and games, and you know that. Put realistic expectations. This is really important. Not too many objectives for sessions. When we prepare guidelines or guides of the session, we become very ambitious, but in fact we have to be realistic. For example, don't expect children to understand about participation in only one meeting, in a 90 minutes meeting. It will take a lot of time. Another tip would be to approach children in accordance to their nature. Give more attention to someone who is not active and shy, for example. Or support and empower females in the group. This is coming back to you, Anahi. Because boys always find ways to usurp them. This is what I've seen, and I've And you have to give responsibility to willing and collaborative member. Can I repeat? It was about the boys and girls, the females. Boys always tend to be arrogant and not give space to the girls to be expressed, for example. So you always have to keep this in mind and make the advocate for the girls and empower them within the group. So something else would be to give responsibility to a willing and collaborative member, and give more guidance to someone who is behind with understanding, etc. So you have to approach every child based on his or her nature. And of course, I believe everybody here knows that the best way to make children involved and productive is by using creativity. So games, exercises, competitions, theater, case discussions, tests, etc. will share some illustrations with you on this. I want to come back to the question of Ian. Did the facilitator only meet the children during the board? During the board meetings? Yes, most of the times. Or did they have an ongoing relationship with the children in some other ways? No, only on the board meetings. Would you consider separate meetings for boys and girls in order to build up the confidence of the girls? I wouldn't, because I really feel that in this context where boys and girls are together, it's better if they address the issues and use that space as an image of the real life, and build some skills on interaction and communication through an arbiter, if I could call it that way. Under good facilitation, they could use this space as a model for addressing such issues in the future. Nice. Okay, shall I continue or? Okay. So this is an illustration of children shared in groups. Children were shared in 3 groups, and they were working on Children on the Move challenges they face project. So this was a project where several pictures and symbols were given to the children, and in the groups they had to organize these visuals in the flip chart and tell a story through using only the symbols. It was really nice, and they had so much fun with that. This was the winning group, very proud of themselves. Here, we have come up with Formalizing the group, the Maria project group. We have been setting rules, mission, program, and we had already chosen the chair and the vice chair. It took about 4 meetings to achieve to arrive to this point. Here is a moment when we simulated a real election process. Children had to elect their chair and vice chair, as I mentioned previously. They enjoyed the process very much and were able to relate it to what their parents do when they vote. Interesting outcome was that they all elected a female as their chair, but she didn't feel comfortable with that position and asked to switch to vice chair. We put it again in a voting context, and they all agreed to this. Here again, some illustration of the same process. Here they are choosing their favorite candidates in privacy, and they voting one by one. This was the youngest one. He was only 8 years old, but very willing to participate and contribute. So, this is another moment when they are doing the competition on the best drawn symbol or the logo of the group. A group, a formalized group, should have a symbol. So again, it's the illustration of the same process. So allow me to continue with the learning points. Most of the time, children create challenges to facilitation because they might be bored or not comfortable, or they just want to seek attention or approval. By understanding these motivation factors can help in finding ways to escape the challenge. So one of them would be to ask someone who has a close relationship with the child and get tips on how to best manage him. Or another way would be to engage a child in a favorite activity within the framework of that given session. It really worked. This really worked. setting up group rules from the beginning and have them all agree and bind to them. This really works. In our group, we decided to have the rules. Children proposed them and they all signed for binding to these rules. It was just like a contract. And later on, when we had these problems with the management of the child, the peer pressure functions because when someone doesn't bind to the rules they have all agreed at the beginning, they have to take the consequences to do that. The facilitator should use a lot of appraisal and reinforce the behavior. You have to make them feel important and special, which they really are. Use every opportunity to encourage the child and keep a unique positive attitude equally to all, without doing any differences. They perceive it very well and very quickly. Best way to teach them about participation is by giving an opportunity to lead and facilitate the group they are in. Besides learning the skill, it associates with feelings of importance and motivates the child a lot. Use repetition, and this is self-explanatory for you. Involve children in learning. In the coming slide, you will see illustrated the best ways to learning, and I believe that you have seen this previously. So this is Confucius says that I see and forget, I hear and remember, I do and I understand. And you see that after 2 weeks, we are passive learners up to 50%. When we watch, we look, and we see things. But when we participate in discussion, or when we do things like a dramatic presentation, simulations, so doing real things, we tend to remember about 90% of that information. So this is all by my side. I would like to see to the poll again if something has changed. Okay, so I'm giving this to Evgenia.
Thank you very much, Valbona. That was very interesting hearing. Okay, so thank you very much, Berina and Valbona. That was wonderful. We all enjoyed your presentations very much. Also, thank you to all the participants for coming and joining us for this event. I would like you to provide feedback to us. I have another poll for this purpose. Just hold on for a second. Here it is. If you could provide feedback and also use chat for this, that would be wonderful. Also, please take your time and ask questions in the Q&A section and chat, because we are still staying here and the presenters are here and ready to answer your questions. Please, so no need to run. And also I would like to tell you about the next webinar, which is coming soon. In July, we are going to have a webinar called Working with Families Who Do Not See the Problem, which I personally think is going to be very interesting. So please feel free to sign up. I will send you a link now. Here it is. So please join us for this webinar as well. We will be very happy. And yes, take your time, write your feedback, questions in the chat. Thank you.